No?
Yeah, I went to jail for it.
Yeah.
But I'm out though.
YNW Melly is under fire in a really bad way because of certain things that he did last year. But despite this, it actually looks like he'll get off if he plays his cards right. Allow me to break it down for you. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 6. The Life of YNW Melly.
What's on the G? Yeah. I grew up in Guilford. This Guilford Park. You know what I'm saying?
Despite what people think, there is a life that we lived before certain defining events. So before we dive into what got him in trouble, we need to examine who YNW Melly is. Well, he was born Jamel Maurice Demons. Yep, seriously, in 1999.
Hey man, this your boy YNW Melly and I'm hold up. Hey man, this your slime YNW Melly.
So if you've done your math right, you'll see that he's not exactly the most experienced person in the world in terms of age. Raised in Gifford, Florida, his early life would be very quiet, but it was clear at a young age that he wanted to make music. And so at the age of 15, he went to SoundCloud and started to upload songs, which is actually something that a lot of young artists did during their uprising. If you look up at a lot of the young bucks in the rap industry, you'll likely find that they had a song series on SoundCloud. Anyway, after putting in some work, he got enough attention that he started to make more and more of them, which would lead him upwards until he got himself turned back downward. For you see, he was just 16 when he went and got himself in an incident involving weapons, which is never something you should have at such a young age. And while he himself didn't hurt anyone, he did partake in it, and that was enough for him to be taken to prison, which again is something that no one should ever experience at such a young age. However, his love of music didn't stop.
Sometime I'll be home soon, it won't be long, I promise.
In a way, it got enhanced, fueled by his experiences, and while he was actually behind bars, he released his first EP in the form of Collect Call. Many noted that his style was a mix of various other singers in the genre, not uncommon for a young rapper to do before he finds his own voice, and that mix was enough to get him some attention, even from within prison. Fast forward to 2018, and he released even more tracks that helped him grow his name, but his biggest one by far was a track called Murder on My Mind. To this day, it's his most streamed song and easily his most controversial, which is a lot like his life when you think about it. As his tracks reached more people, some famous names in the business started to take notice. His fame grew so much that he actually worked with Kanye West on a song called Mixed Personalities. And while Kanye is the most popular person in the rap world right now, a collaboration with him at such a young age is still a big deal. Despite his budding music career, he continued to get into trouble with the law, and that has casted a very dark shadow on him in his life, which now puts him in the situation that he finds himself in right now. He'll need to work some magic to get out of the situation he put himself into. Number 5. The crime.
Got arrested in high school, but I got my GED really in jail.
There's a lot of things that go into whether he'll serve life or get no jail time, so let's start at the beginning of this situation. You know, what actually got him arrested. As the crime often helps dictate the punishment. It all started on October 26 of 2018, when YNW Melly went to the hospital to get help for his two friends. Or more accurately, he had his friend Cortland Henry go to the hospital to get help for his two friends, Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas Jr. And if that sounds fishy already, that means you got some pretty good instincts. Cortland noted to officials that he and his friends were driving out in the town in the early parts of the morning after a recording session when they were both caught in a drive-by, which sadly happens more than you think these days. In his version of the events, a car pulled up to the passenger side of the car and unloaded their clips. Though Cortland was unharmed, the others most definitely were not. Upon reaching the hospital, the two passed away. At first, this very likely looked like a crime that was drive-by, but certain details didn't add up, like how the cars seemed to be relatively undamaged outside of only 8 holes, how Cortland didn't even have a scratch on him, and most importantly, the way that William and Thomas Jr. were hit.
The victims, Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas Jr., were dropped off at the hospital where they were pronounced dead.
Some dots seriously weren't connecting here. Things started to shift into a different direction though when a shell casing was found inside the vehicle. Why does that matter? Well, I'll explain. When a weapon is discharged, the shell flies out either backwards or to the side, not in front of the weapon. Even in close proximity, it wouldn't have happened as it were with this car. In this case, the left rear side of the vehicle, which is the opposite side of where the holes were located. That starts to raise a lot of questions about what really happened in that car. As the search of the truth continued, video evidence showed Cortland, Williams, Thomas Jr., and YNW Melly getting into the car. True enough, they were coming out of a recording studio, but Cortland failed to mention that Melly was with them. Oh, and who got the back left seat? That's right, YNW Melly. If you're wondering why he wasn't at the hospital with Cortland, he admitted to the police that after the incident, he got out and went off into another car, which some may play off off as a stress relief or needing to get away from it all. But that just didn't feel right with the officers. What police believe now happened is that after the recording session, all four did indeed get into the vehicle, and at some point, YNW Melly went and took out Williams and Thomas Jr. Then to help sell the lie, the two went around and drove the car with the dead bodies inside it, just so that they can have some more plausibility as to where the drive-by happened. Then they just damaged the side of the car to ensure and secure the lie. YNW Melly left, and Cortland went to the hospital. While it took some investigating, Demons and Henry were arrested for the unlawful passing of Williams and Thomas Jr., and they're facing serious charges because of it. But just because they're charged doesn't mean they'll have serious jail time, or any time at all, in fact. Number 4. The weight of one's actions. Despite what people think, just because you take a person's life doesn't mean you'll get jail time. And some even think that it's an instant life sentence deal, but it's not. In some cases, it is, sure, but not always. However, YNW Melly is most definitely facing one of those situations right now. This is because of the heinous nature of the crime. YNW Melly hurt his friends in a very evil way, meaning that he did it in a way that was meant to be up close, personal, and without remorse. He was in the back of the car when the incident occurred. The two didn't even have a glimpse of a warning. What's more, he even had the weapon on him. It's clear that this was premeditated, which makes it even more severe than something like a crime of passion. The unlawful passing of a person is a serious thing, and the police know that when someone commits it, justice has to be served in one form or another. And given that he personally did the deed, that puts him front and center of this entire mess. But there's something else you have to consider in terms of penalties and charges: the cover-up. YNW Melly had Cortland lie about what happened in order to hide what actually happened, and specifically hide his involvement in it. So that's two people gone, a cover-up, and technically conspiracy. That shows intent in every way imaginable, and that's something that the police will be using to get YNW Melly the maximum sentence. And there are other factors too that can add up to a life sentence or a long sentence in prison. One that YNW Melly definitely has: a past record. Number 3. Past arrests.
Premeditated murder, and the court does find probable cause.
YNW Melly may be young, but he still has a long track record that can be used against him. He's been doing a lot of crimes since he was 16, and that's a big deal when it comes to rendering a sentence to a person. In the case of YNW Melly, he was already convicted a felon because of the previous incidents, and that was only when he was 16. While it's true that he served his time, that doesn't really mean he's learned his lesson, because he was arrested multiple times after that. This all matters for a very simple reason: he's shown the desire and the intent to continue committing crimes of various heinous natures, hurting people, carrying illegal items, and taking lives. This all shows that he's a threat to society in many ways. He's committed at least 4 different crimes from this particular arrest, and when you consider the 2 arrests that he's already had before, that would technically make this his 3rd strike, which means that in any leeway he may have gotten in terms of punishment is now gone. That is, unless he can prove himself useful in some way. Number 2. Solving a crime. This is either a big case of irony or someone just about to get a blessing in disguise. A new report has surfaced saying that both YNW Melly and his buddy Cortland may have been involved in another incident, this time involving a sheriff's deputy. This particular incident happened back in 2017 in Gifford, Florida, where YNW Melly lives. While not connected before, evidence from the current case seems to tie back to that case, and has opened up an investigation into the matter. Perhaps given their situation, they might be able to shed some light on the case, said a sheriff. You might think that this is a far-fetched claim to try and get even more evidence on YNW Melly, but there are eyewitness accounts of the two being in Gifford at that time, and some even say that it was public knowledge. What's more, there was likely more than just YNW Melly and Cortland. There is reports saying that there was a group of people discharging weapons in an area, and one of those went and struck the deputy, taking his life in the process. So how is this good for him? After all, he's likely going to be charged with another crime, right? Well, not exactly. The proof is thin. But if YNW Melly was indeed at the scene during the night in question, he may know who it was if it wasn't him. His testimony could lead him to a big break in a case and finally give the family of the deputy some peace, and in the process earn YNW Melly some leniency in regards to his sentence, which brings us to the big reason he won't serve jail time. Number 1. He could be useful to the cops. For the record, there is no excusing what YNW Melly did to his friends. It's reprehensible and wrong. But you do need to think of this from from the perspective of law enforcement. They have a kid, not even 20, dead to rights on a couple of incidents that could get him life. Those officers now have to choose whether to send him away for life or to not think about it anymore, or use this person to their advantage. Think about it, he's young, he's got street cred, he's got a fan base, and these things could be useful to infiltrate certain ventures in Florida and weed out the crime. And if he tries to weasel out of it, you'll throw his sorry butt back in the jail. It's simple. He's serving no one by being locked behind bars. But if he can get other criminals, even worse criminals off the street, then he might get a deal. And with that deal comes the promise of possibly no jail time if he cooperates. If that sounds familiar, it's because it's likely what's going to happen with 6ix9ine, with the only exception that he's being held in jail until his sentencing is due to his plea deal that he made. Still, it's a similar principle. It worked for 6ix9ine, why not YNW Melly? And there you go, everyone. Look into why YNW Melly might just walk out of jail a free man, and possibly very soon. Also, do you understand the possible views that could lead to this happening? And do you think that YNW Melly will actually not get life in prison? Or do you think that he'll be put away for good? Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on King Trending.
Hey, just a reminder that we're changing up the giveaways. From now on, we're offering the Galaxy Note 9, the one that comes with the exclusive Fortnite skin, the new iPhone X Max, which we'll pre-order for you, and the new Apple Watch Series 4, which we'll also pre-order for you. The winner gets to decide between these three. Make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, drop a like, and comment the hidden message in the video for a chance to win. You got nothing to lose. Go for it.